Hello and welcome back to Reeling It Appears, where we chat about and discuss all sorts of movies. My name is Gary O'Brien, and joining me as always for the monthly release recaps, it's my very good friend David Scanlon. Today we're talking about the latest movies of June 2023, so stick around, we hope you enjoy. This is David Scanlon, how are you? What did we think of June?
The first one?
The first one, because the second one's not out yet.
1984.
Yeah. Oh.
I haven't seen it.
No.
June was hot.
June was hot. It's a hot month.
I don't mean the sand dunes. I mean the month.
And also
There was also hot movies.
Yeah, the Cineplex was heating up, David.
I had a good time.
Yeah. I'm looking at some of these movies here for June, and I'm just thinking to myself, that was 7 years ago.
Yeah, it feels like
what
that.
the fuck? Like, how did we not talk about Spider-Verse already? How did we not talk about...
You did talk about Spider-Verse.
Yeah, but like, you know what I mean? And then how have we not talked about Transformers Rise of the Beasts? Seems weird.
Yeah, I suppose. But
very strange.
You got some preview screenings.
I did, which means I have nothing but excellent things to say about them.
I got one preview screening.
Yeah. And you get what you deserve.
You have to go all in.
Yeah, exactly. Hello. We're talking about the month movies today.
The month movies.
Yeah, the month movies today. On today's day, we talk about the months, the collection of days before this day, which are contained to 1 month, where we talk about all the movies that came out in that on different days of that month.
God, way to uncomplicate it. God, keep it simple. We watch some movies we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So if people want to jump around, there's time codes. And we're also going to talk about the movies that are coming out in July, as in the 5 movies that are coming out in July. If you want to comment and interact with the podcast, there's a Q&A thing on Spotify, there's the YouTube, and there's also the email address, ratingitappears@gmail.com.
I meant to ask you actually, and this is a little bit of a tangent.
I like when you just save a lot of your questions until we start recording every month. And if anyone's not aware of the months, it's a collection of days. But it's very important you know that they change.
How many days was this month?
See, David, it's really funny you asked that because you need a song to help you figure that out.
I was just wondering, have you got any new followers on the Letterboxd, which I noticed I have.
Yeah. There's a few people. Oh yeah, follow us on the Letterboxd. Links in the description.
There's a guy called Matthew Lewis. Don't know if you know him.
Nope.
Oshin. I don't know who that is. I think
Oshin
might
Cook?
be Oshin Sands or Oshin Cook.
Okay. Hello to both of them.
And Theo's Bradman.
Good old Bradley, yeah.
Yeah,
There you go.
Join us on Letterboxd if you have it.
Join us.
Join
the
I don't know if you've been watching the videos on Instagram, but people asking famous people their top 4 movies.
Yeah. Yeah, we discussed this.
Riveting.
Yeah, but they always come up with weird shit.
Yeah.
But they're always like, there's this weird independent French movie that was filmed on a fucking tinfoil wrapper. Just like, alright, cool. Just fucking say E.T. and move on.
Exactly. Yeah. What would you say?
Yours
are... No, actually,
you're going to have to go
on
on the Letterboxd and find out what top 4 is. Yeah. Your top 4 is the most like, would you stop being so David Scanlon? Just get over yourself.
Oh, no, don't worry. I've added network in there.
Have you actually?
No, I actually haven't. But... Wouldn't you expect it?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay, back to the podcast. Anyway.
Back to the podcast. We are talking about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Transformers Rise of the Beast, The Flash, No Hard Feelings, Asteroid City, and Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Some of these movies me and David haven't even discussed yet, so there's a little sneak peek into our friendship. Anyway, shall we talk about one of the funniest movies of the year, No Hard Feelings?
Can't wait. Do you want me to talk?
No, you're going to do it, buddy.
I'm going to do it.
I got all. Don't worry. I'm going to handle The Flash, Transformers Rise of the Beast, and Indiana Jones.
Wow.
Like a good friend I am. I'm taking the ones that you don't like.
Hits,
yeah.
Okay, so No Hard Feelings is a comedy romance.
Yeah.
It's not a romantic comedy.
It is. This is a romantic. This is a scene with a piano.
There is, I suppose. Starring Jennifer Lawrence and Andrew Bart Feldman. So they're the 2 stars, mainly Jennifer Lawrence's movie, but she is a Uber driver.
Yep.
She is a waitress, and she is living in a coastal resort kind of town.
Yeah.
Which every year gets invaded by, the big rich society folk,
upper class
of America.
The C-level executives of RTE.
Exactly. Yeah.
I like to make this really accessible podcast.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And make it, it's
a bit of a political edge to it. I've always said that.
Make it, give it make it part of the news cycle.
The zeitgeist.
Exactly. Yeah. Wow, this is already way too loose.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, her car gets towed because she's not paying her taxes, and she wants to hold on to her house for certain reasons. Anyway, so on and so forth. She needs money. She needs a car. She goes on Craigslist sees a ad that says date our son for to get a car, a Buick
Regal, no
and
less.
so she goes and interviews for the job of dating this family's son who is going on to Princeton University, but you know, a little bit antisocial, a little bit, you know,
he's a very sheltered and coddled young man.
Yeah, but she needs to take him out of that shell and, you know,
ride him,
show him the world.
Yeah,
and by the world I mean her bits.
A good time.
Exactly. But it's a fun time. Funny enough, when I got out of the cinema immediately, I thought this is very funny. But from different sources and stuff, different reviews,
bullshit. No, that's just people being wrong, David.
Exactly. What I will say is Jennifer Lawrence seems to be having a great time.
Yeah.
And I feel like, what was the last movie she did before this?
She did Causeway, but that, if I recall, that was done before she took a break from acting. So before that, that's not in my notes, unfortunately. But I do have the cast if you need it. Sorry. It would have been around the time of like Mother and shit.
Yeah. I feel like she did a lot of serious stuff. And by serious stuff, I mean X-Men.
No, so she did like, in 2016, she did A Beautiful Planet as the narrator of a documentary, X-Men Apocalypse, Passengers, then Mother, Red Sparrow, Dark Phoenix, Don't Look Up was probably her last big movie. And I think she was pregnant on like the press tour for that, if I recall. And I think she took a break after that then.
Yeah. But again, all I want to say is she seems to be having a very good time on this. She's a producer on this, so you can tell she definitely wants to put her all into it. Andrew Barthelman, this seems to be his first major role.
Yeah, except for the Ratatouille TikTok musical.
Okay. Cool.
That's what he's known for.
Cool. But yeah, that man has pipes.
Yep.
Yeah, I was really enjoyed their chemistry. Overall, just a solid kind of X-rated comedy or rated comedy.
Yeah. Yeah.
X-rated or rated comedy.
It's so rated, I'd say.
Yeah. Little bit of heart to it. There's a little bit of an edge to it as well, with some political undertones, which I liked.
Yeah.
Or societal undertones.
Yeah. Observations on society.
Yeah. But yeah, actually, no, I won't spoil it. Never mind.
No.
But yeah, overall, just a solid time. Yeah, and again, I don't think there has been a better comedy in cinemas this year. So if you enjoy comedies and you enjoy kind of R-rated comedies, this is the one for you.
Yeah. We went to a preview screening for the OmniPass members.
Thank you, Omniplex.
And it was just full of everyone who obviously loves going to the movie often, but I love going to a movie on a fucking Monday night.
Yeah.
And everyone was having
it. Was it a Monday night?
Was it Monday night?
No,
Monday
night.
100%. And everyone was just having a good time with it, and the jokes there's some really funny laugh out loud moments in it, and I think like you said, the chemistry between the two of them are great. And it's weird to see this sort of not everyone, but a lot of the reviews I'm seeing that seem to have a problem with this movie aren't about the actual movie, but the premise of the movie, which is that Jennifer Lawrence is a 32-year-old woman, entering into a romantic relationship with this 19-year-old kid. But like, that's not what the movie is about. Yeah. It's the setup to the movie, but it's not really about. Well, it is, but like, I don't know. It's a much sweeter movie than you'd expect.
And I feel like the characters go on a journey. Like
exactly, you know what I mean. And it's not a case. She's not getting any sort of she's not doing it for like sexual depraved reasons of like, I want to, have sex with this younger gentleman. Why did I say gentleman? Just lad. Anyway, but no, as in like, but also like he makes her realize things about herself and vice versa and stuff. And it has a lot of interesting things to say about like helicopter parenting and stuff like that. And that was all really interesting. Again, like it's not the best handling of the subject matter because based on the type of movie that it is. But yeah, I think it's just a really fun time. And like I've said it to a lot of people and they said the trailer looks shite.
And I love that trailer.
Me and you like that trailer because we're fucking auteurs of cinema, buddy. Yeah. Everyone else were like, no, but we know funny when we see it, and that was a funny trailer. Yeah. And I could understand why people thought it was maybe a bit more like, I don't know, cheap laughish than it was, but I knew there was something there, and I love being right. Yeah, and I can't wait for me to be continually right throughout this whole podcast, and definitely not eat my words about Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
We'll see.
But no, and I just think Gene Stupnitsky did a great movie recently called Good Boys as well, which we watched and we were like, this is really fucking funny,
silly funny kind of,
and
good
like
stuff.
We don't get movies like this very often, and I think this was a perfect movie that I could happily. I don't think I could say to someone like, oh my god, you need to go check it out in cinemas, but as soon as it's on a streaming service, this is a great little Friday night movie watch.
Well, I don't know if I'd agree with you there, because what I would say is our experience of the film was definitely enhanced by that full screen. Like
100%.
Like any laughs, anytime there was a laughter and you're like, oh, that's a bit awkward, but like every time everyone was laughing, you're laughing along.
It did help that there was a stoner like a couple of rows in front of us that laughed at absolutely everything. But Yeah, no, I 100% agree, but I just don't think if someone went to go see it this weekend, it's
exactly.
going to be
You
full.
get the same experience. Exactly. Yeah.
So if you have a time machine, go back and go watch it on a Monday night in Omniplex and Left Minds.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, but just in terms of Gene Stupnitsky as well, like the other thing about Good Boys, which I really enjoyed, was again, there was a lot of heart to that movie.
Yes.
Again, there was a coming of age element of,
a controversial premise.
Yeah.
But actually executed very well.
Exactly, yeah. And I think the idea of all-out comedies these days, they've kind of gone away. Like, I don't think we've seen a proper good, like, all-out comedy for a good while. And I feel like this is the last one I've seen for quite some time.
Yeah.
Especially ones that, like, there seems to be studios getting away from, like, all-out comedies in cinemas. They seem to be, like, pushing them onto streaming and stuff. And
you have to remember You People with Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
Balls.
Joke.
Yeah.
Oh, you watched that, didn't you?
Nope.
But, like, I can understand in some senses because, like, okay, you need a star like Jennifer Lawrence to make it a box office hit. But, like, I just don't think when you watch a comedy at home on your own or something like that, you know, sometimes the comedy just doesn't hit as hard. But again, when you're in the cinema and you're surrounded by people, it makes a huge difference. In terms of, I know one thing you had mentioned before to me was the kind of outside cast probably wasn't as good.
Yeah.
But again, you can tell they put all their money into Jennifer Lawrence and the kid. I thought, you know, again, very good for what he was doing. Yeah.
And I thought as well, sorry, I'm just looking at quote unquote comedies for this year 2023 on Letterboxd, and the number one comedy, but just has comedy in its many genres, is Super Mario Bros.
That was a comedy.
And then the next one is Beau's Afraid.
Oh, that's a good comedy.
Hilarious.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like,
there's
no.
That's what I mean. There's no like comedy for sake comedy. Yeah. And I think there's a really interesting thing happening in Hollywood with horror movies at the moment, where horror movies used to like, they had to be back in like the 2010s and stuff like that. There was no like good horror movies. It was just franchises and big names and stuff like that. Whereas now we're getting our Black Phones Barbarians, we're getting our Smile. And they're made very cheap and they make a lot of money. And I'd love to see comedies kind of go that way as well, where if I recall, the budget for this isn't too big.
Yeah.
So like some like cheaper make comedies that make their money like in the first couple of weekends in America. That's what I'd love to see coming back. And I think maybe where their money didn't go is a soundtrack. Very average soundtrack, except for one song. Me and you are big Hall & Oates fans, and see Hall & Oates represented very well in this movie. Was great.
Well, that's it. They obviously got the rights to that one song and they drained that dry.
Big time. Also, love to see some Gary representation in cinema.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong there either.
Big time. That's added to your list, of course, on Letterboxd.
Yeah. Letterboxd. We just spend the whole thing plugging Letterboxd this time. Exactly. Yeah, this is going great. But speaking of movies on that list, with movies with a character called Gary in it, and that cost a lot of money to make, let's talk about the 2023 DC super flick, The Flash.
Is this going to be the last? No, this isn't the last one as
Aquaman.
part of the DCEU.
Apparently, so Aquaman is the last one, but Blue Beetle is the first one of the new one.
Oh, wow. Way to start a franchise.
I know, yeah, it's great. One step back. One step forward, one step back. I don't really know. But yes, the 2023 movie, The Flash. So, Barry Allen, good old Barry Allen, The Flash, is speeding about the place, and he's working with Batman, played by Ben Affleck, and his Alfred, Jeremy Irons. And he's still getting used to his powers, and, he's still trying to, like, settle in on life, whatever like that. But one day, he realizes on the anniversary of his father's trial, appeal is coming up, and it doesn't look like it's going to go well, based on this new evidence that he thinks might be able to exonerate him, but it doesn't. And he gets very angry and just decides to run very, very fast. But it's too fast that he actually manages to go back in time. So he takes it upon himself to look to try and go back in time to save his mother, who had been killed one night, and that's why his father has been imprisoned. But those actions have consequences where he all of a sudden has changed the timeline ever so slightly and has wound back time or ran back in time to a universe or a multiverse where Ben Affleck's Batman is no longer around, but Michael Keaton's Batman from the Tim Burton movies is back, and Henry Cavill's Superman's no longer around, but instead a Supergirl played by Sasha Calle. And it's all about the Flash working with another version of Barry Allen to try and get back to his timeline. Does that sound right?
That sounds like the whole trailer.
Yeah, which is the movie.
Yeah,
so this movie is the last remnants of a DC kind of extended universe movie. It was supposed to come out in 2018, but due to production delays, COVID, Ezra Miller doing him or them, many different reasons why this movie's gotten delayed, which is why it feels A, quite outdated, and B, is kind of like David had mentioned, just kind of very much fucking up the timeline of their release of films. So it was meant to be this big reset button and it couldn't be that anymore because they're just changing the entire universe now. So what it is it's just a very kind of hollow and shallow superhero flick that is sort of built itself on the nostalgia of the Michael Keaton movies and this sort of novelty of having Sasha Kaye as Supergirl. But all of that is in the trailers. Yeah. So the enjoyment you kind of have to get whatever enjoyment you can get out of this from this 2 hour 20 movie is just Ezra Miller's Barry Allen, to which I really enjoyed and to which you didn't, which is why I think we maybe had slightly different opinions on the movie. But so there's not much in it, but there's some fun jokes that I really liked. I really liked Ezra Miller's performance in this. Again, separating, art from artist or whatever, but I think they did a very, very good job. Michael Keaton was well used, but again, we all the good used bits are in the trailer. We don't have enough time with Sasha Kaye, and the timeline stuff kind of gets very confusing and is unfortunately bogged down by a lot of CGI that is questionable.
Yeah, just to echo kind of what you're saying there, they had I think they had the bones of a good story. I think conceptually wise, there's a lot of interesting ideas. On your point on Ezra Miller, I think number one, I think he's just a little bit too goofy, and the fact that there's two of them on screen can be really annoying at some. However, I will say some of the emotional scenes he did were really good, so I did enjoy that. Sorry. In terms, one of the biggest scourges in Hollywood now is trailers just give away the whole movie. Trailers just give away the whole movie. Now, there's a part of this movie where they go. Barry Allen's gone back in time. He's found Batman. He decides he needs to find Superman to kind of save the day. And they're trying to create this kind of conceptual tension that we need to find Superman. When you're well aware, and there's no getting away from this trailer. It's not like they've hidden it. It's not like you would have to go. Say, for example, Oppenheimer has a trailer that you see in the cinemas, and it also has a trailer that you can watch on YouTube. And they're completely different. The one in cinemas is just very much kind of teasing stuff. It doesn't give you much of the story. But any time I would have gone to the cinema, I would have seen the 2 minute and 30-second trailer, which gives away the whole thing.
Especially on the bus ads as well.
Yeah. But that's nothing against the movie. That's Hollywood in general. So I can't really give it that. I enjoyed Michael Keaton. I enjoyed Sasha Kaye as well. I thought she was great. But again, you just don't get enough of her.
No.
And I would have liked more of a conflict between her and the Kryptonians.
Yes.
For a long period. Then so I just think, and to be honest, I actually really enjoyed being in that world. There's a kind of an action scene at the start of the movie which I actually quite enjoyed. A little bit, again, CGI is very, very wonky.
I think the CGI is getting a rough time.
Oh no, I don't know,
I think it's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
I think it's perfectly serviceable. I don't think it doesn't take me out of the movie that much.
Yeah.
It's a guy running at the speed of light. I'm fine with it.
I think they could have added another artsy element to it. Make things a little bit faded.
The chromodome bowl dish thing that when he runs in when time goes back. I thought, I sent you, it should be like sand, or it should be like Sands of Time, something where it's a bit more, artsy, or it's more representative of time rather than looking like it's trying to be a bad photorealistic version of events.
Yeah.
And I think that was what drew a lot of people, and I think they could have saved themselves a lot of hassle there.
Also, sorry, one of my biggest annoyances with Ezra Miller is the fact that he can't run.
No, but they make fun of it in that. They have this one scene in it where...
I know, that is...
And that I pissed myself laughing at that. That was so funny.
But that's it is. It does kind of feel like that type of coming to the end of an era, and they're just they're trying to rinse whatever they can. It's
weird that this was going to be kicking off a new thing. That's why I find it very strange.
Exactly.
But I will say about this movie as well, you touched on the emotional moments that Ezra Miller performs. I think they were so good.
Yeah.
So good in those scenes. And I think they have the comedy chops down. And I recently watched them in The Perks of Being a Wallflower.
Yeah.
Great in that.
Yeah.
Oh, they were so good in that. And I was just like, he's going on to do good things in movies. But in The Flash as well. And I think that the movie does have this really interesting sort of point, which is that the trauma that kind of shapes you. So Barry Allen became who he was because of the death of his mother.
Yeah.
And we get to see that reflected in what happens if his mother's alive, because we see that other version of Barry Allen. Then we also see a version of Batman and how his trauma has affected him his whole life. And then the same with Sasha Kaye, in the sense of that Supergirl is someone that didn't land on the Kent farm and get support and have Pa Kent helping him stop seeing through walls and blowing shit up, but instead was experimented on. And like you kind of mentioned as well, that we don't get enough of that kind of conflict with her, because she's immediately like, I'm not fucking helping you humans, you are the worst people ever. And then like 20 minutes later she goes, all right,
I'll help you.
Yeah, okay, I'll go float on top of your roof for a bit.
I get that point, but I would like to have seen a bigger differentiation between the two Barry Allens. Like, I thought...
Oh, what?
I think they're both as goofy as each other. Do you not think?
That's just a goofy thing. You're just goofy.
And I know one of them is very kind of obnoxious, and I get that idea, but I would have liked to have seen, like, the one that goes back in time just be more kind of stern and more...
that's too different from what we've seen before that, though.
I don't know. I think he could have grown up a bit in the meantime. Like, and, like, the fact that he... there's a bit at the start where he's cleaning up messes and stuff. I feel like that could have been something they kind of lent into a bit more.
Fair.
That, okay, like what am I actually doing here if I'm just like cleaning up after your messes and stuff like that.
Yeah, but there is that but there's that great scene where it's not too much of a spoiler, but the other Barry Allen gets the flash powers instead, and he gets them for the first time ever and starts zipping around the neighborhood. That's a great scene. That's really funny. I had a great time with that. Like, again, there's those great little moments in it, but as a movie in a whole, it doesn't justify its 2 hour and 20 minute runtime, because it just jumps around too much. And then, like, there's even the whole battle with Zod at the end, again, in the trailer. I would have loved that as a surprise. I would have loved to know that wasn't coming. And again, I wish, like, that. Then I know it's on me to be like, oh, don't look at the trailers. It was everywhere. I couldn't avoid it. But yeah, like I said, I don't know. I think it's weird that Tom Cruise and Stephen King were like, this is great. This is cinema. Who's paying those lads to be coming out with that shit? Like, it's a bit fucked. But yeah, I like this whole thing. It's like, sometimes you can't fix a problem. Sometimes, no matter how fast you run, you can't fix everything. I like those things in it.
But that's what I was saying. There is the bones of a good concept there. It's just, execution.
Also, they ruined our favourite line of all time.
Let's get nuts.
Yeah, you want to get nuts?
I want to get nuts.
Let's get nuts.
Yeah.
One? Okay, this is going to be the last thing I say on this movie. Where it's like, one, they put it in the trailer.
Yeah.
Fuck that. Because that would have been a great little surprise to have. Two, what's iconic about that line in the first place? That Bruce Wayne from the 1989 movie Batman, with Jack Nicholson and Michael Keaton, directed by Tim Burton, starring Batman. No, he goes, all of a sudden he's over in Vicky Vale's house, and then the Joker comes in and he's all like, whoa, I don't want a problem here, mate. And then he just grabs a fire poker and he just smashes the vase. He's like, come on, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts. And he's like, holy shit. Even the Joker's like, Jesus Christ, man.
I thought I was
calm
crazy.
it down. Whereas in this one, it's just like he's an old man hunched over a bar being like, hey,
See, I feel like he could have done
nuts?
He could have done that line in the kitchen.
In the kitchen or in the plane.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a great scene where he's diving down and there's like the bat plane is in the moon. Love that.
Again, it's just...
But again, that's not reason for me to like a movie. That's just a moment I liked.
What's the line again? Style over substance.
You want to talk about styles over substance? Yeah, okay. I'll fucking remember that.
We'll come back to that. Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, yeah. Should we move on to our next multiversal movie?
Yes.
Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Sorry, I was trying to remember which one that
I've connected these very well by accident. Oh, there was a Gary in the Flash, by the way.
Yeah.
Very funny scene. Yeah. I knew his name was Gary. Before he even said his name, I was going to like, that's going to be a Gary right there. Yeah. Loved it.
Even Joe, even if you see it just for that bit.
Yeah, he's very... the girl from Dairy Girl's in it.
Yeah, I don't know her name.
She's good.
She's good?
Yeah, she's fine.
She's a friend.
Yeah.
He's never going to be in it again.
Nope. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. So you talked about this already with your friend Owen. Our friend Owen.
Our acquaintance Owen.
Yeah. What would you say? He's a contributor. Contributor to the pod.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure he'll love that.
But
does he contribute? I feel like he takes more away.
Okay.
It's just wasted airtime with him.
You just want it to be all you.
Yeah. I actually make edits of these podcasts where it's just me talking. I actually re-record everyone else's bits. But with Owen's bits, I'm like, I wouldn't say that.
So it's just you talking to you.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. It's like two Barry Allens. It's great. And I run around while I do
it. So this is a sequel to Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Mm-hmm.
Covered on episode 1 of the podcast.
Oh yeah, actually there you go. It's a callback. So this is the second installment. We meet Miles Morales, who seems to have been Spider-Man for maybe a couple of months, maybe up to a year.
18 months.
18 months, year and a half. he's fighting bad guys, but he's also trying to deal with certain elements that were main plot points within the first film. I don't want to kind of spoil it.
No.
Again, this is a very spoiler heavy movie, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do you know what? Just go see it. It's class. I don't want there's no more. If you enjoyed the first one.
I think there's some things to say about it to set it up in case people haven't seen it.
Yeah, okay. So he's dealing with the usual Spider-Man things of, trying to balance school, family, Spider-Man stuff, time with his friends. Actually, yeah. And then
it's on the poster.
It's on.
You're fine.
And I suppose then
no one thinks it's a 2 hour and 30-minute movie where nothing multiversal happens.
Gwen appears
and
introduces them to a whole new world.
Yeah. And they go on a little magic carpet. And Robin Williams like, hey, buddy.
What I call you, miles? What if I call kilometers? Look, great movie.
Yeah, okay, well, I think there's two things to point out about it. One, it's a two-parter, and people need to know that.
I will, mate. I'll go back to that, but go on.
They just need to know that.
I'll.
Oh yeah, okay. Two, I don't think it's as good as the first one, in my opinion, and I think it's weird it's getting all this praise as like it was at a time it was the best movie on Letterboxd. Yeah. Incorrect. It's a very good movie. It's a very good half of a movie. But what else can you expect from a Spider-Verse movie? You've got a great voice cast. You've got the likes of, obviously, the guy who plays Miles Morales, Shamik Moore, who's good. Haley Steinfeld's good. Brian Tyree Henry, fine. But I think for me, standouts.
Brian Tyree Henry?
He plays Jefferson. Jeff.
He's his dad.
Yeah.
Oh,
and then also Luna Lauren Velez. She plays Miles' ma, but also the mother in Transformers Rise of the Beast. A very confusing week for Gary, because I was like, why does she sound familiar? Anyway, but no, for me, I think the two standouts are Jason Schwartzman. No, I say three standouts. Jason Schwartzman as the Spot, a character who is very interesting and is very layered that you probably don't expect going into the movie. Oscar Isaac as Miguel O'Hara, who plays Spider-Man 2099, sort of the leader of this spider society thing that Miles enters into. But then also your favorite man of all time.
Oh man,
Daniel Kaluuya as Spider-Punk.
Yeah, I've got my new favorite movie character.
You should have a list on Letterboxd. I like movies that feature a character called Gary. You should have,
movies that fight society.
Movies with characters who are pro eat the rich.
I think this is Oscar-worthy performance from Daniel Kaluuya.
Yeah, Andy Serkis as the monkey was balls. This is great.
That is great. It is, and it's what I will say is a bit like in the first one. Every character has their own time to shine. They're all given their correct amount of kind of substance behind it. There's, there seems to be different types of animation applied to certain characters, which I thought was great. In terms of the overall story, what I want to mention is I don't think I've seen it done as well, taking certain elements that were brought into the maybe the initial story, the first in a say trilogy or whatever, and then just elaborated on correctly, or elaborated on, to make it look like they haven't just what am I trying to say? They haven't just pulled on a thread too much. I feel like
something like a Fast X, where it's just like, oh, by the way, you remember that thing that happened? Well, there was actually this thing happening at the same time, whereas it's much more natural in this.
Exactly. And I feel like it's when you, let's say for example, you look at Iron Man. In Iron Man, Iron Man 1 is a great movie. I don't think they were leading up to any sequels. They just this, we're just going to make one good movie, and then we'll have a little tag on the end and see how it reacts. Whereas you look at what they did in Iron Man 2, they take everything that happened in Iron Man 1, him getting the thing in his chest, and then he has to take it out, whatever, and that's killing him. And so everything that happened in the first one, you've kind of just it doesn't matter now because this is happening now. I think they did the correct amount of and it comes back to that character, the Spot. He doesn't just come out of nowhere. His backstory is essential. Yeah, exactly. And it's rooted in Miles Morales' story as well. So which links those two. So yeah, I just thought that was really, really well done. The introduction of new characters, especially new Spider-Man, was really well done. There's a fight at the start that introduces Miguel O'Hara and Spider-Woman.
Yeah.
Is that her name?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Jess Drew, played by Issa Rae.
Yeah. Which I thought was really well done. And again, there's another character that appears there. I don't want to, again, spoil anything, but I don't want to spoil, because I feel like that's. But again, that character has their own animation applied to them, which it just adds a lot of layers and depth to the world. I agree with you that it's not as good as the first one. Number one, I think soundtrack wise, not as good, but I think the issue there is they only had one person producing this album or this soundtrack, whereas in the last one they had multiple artists all kind of doing their own thing. So then, sorry, my final point is, and it's not a dig at anyone if you found the ending abrupt or anything like that, I totally understand, but like there's always been this concept of, you know, ending movies on a cliffhanger, and you know, having abrupt endings this isn't the first movie to do it. And I feel like, personally, I found it, okay, this is, and maybe going in, I had that in my head that, okay, this is going to end abruptly. But like, you look at, you know, movies in the past, you know, Empire Strikes Back is the biggest one. Like and
go ahead.
But all I will say is that, like, I think it sets it up quite nicely for what's going to come, and the fact that we only have to wait a year is really nice.
No, not anymore.
It's not the 24th of March, no?
Oh, I'll finish. Go ahead and I'll...
But I'm just saying, in comparison to, say, something like Dune, which is, what was it, 3 years now?
2 years.
2 years, okay.
Wasn't it 2021? 2020?
No, did that not come out during COVID?
2021, because we did the recap.
Oh, okay, yeah. But just in turn, I didn't find it abrupt. I found it like a nice little natural way to just hype you up for the next one.
I completely agree. But I think the movie kind of ends at 2 hours, and then there's 30 minutes of just
epilogue kind of thing.
That goes on for far too long. And as I've said before, it's not too much of a spoiler, but it's like all the pieces are laid out in front of you, and in my head I'm like, that should only take 20 minutes to finish off, realistically.
Okay.
Based on everything that's all set up, they're like, cool, now you just need to do the X, Y, and Z, and then the movie's over, like, in 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Well, you could, again, you don't know that.
We don't know. What I'm getting is, we don't know that. But it's just a bit, I would rather them wrap it up a bit earlier and have some of that epilogue be in the next movie. And I think with something like Empire Strike Back, yes, it's on a bit of a cliffhanger, it leads on to the next one, but the movie kind of like ends. It like ends, and then there's like that 5 minutes of like Luke getting a new hand, and like, you know what I mean? And then it's not like 20-30 minutes, which I think that's the problem with this movie. Has like 2.5 acts instead of 3 acts.
Okay, fair.
That's my only problem with it.
I personally didn't find that, but again,
the TikTok lady behind me just goes, "What are you for real?"
in the premiere thing.
Yeah, but yeah, I definitely agree with the soundtrack not being as good. I think they have like the writing on it. I think also as well, like, I loved Spider-Man India. I thought he was great. We just didn't see enough of him. But I still think nobody, as Spider-Punk as well, we didn't get enough of him either.
Yeah.
But I still don't think you beat Nick Cage and John Mulaney.
Yeah.
I think those two were just...
My big thing with John Mulaney's character is I think they gave away a lot of it in the trailers. I personally remember that. Yeah,
but he could say anything, and I'm still probably going to
get laughed at. Nick Cage, that was very good. But again, I think it was more a surprise element.
Yeah.
But again, let's hope we get to see certain characters interact in the next one, because like, we see certain teams being put together towards the end.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the next one. Oh, and the whole thing about it is a lot of bad stuff has come out recently about those animators being heavily overworked, and a lot of the animators being like, there's no way that's coming out March 24th.
Yeah.
So we might have to wait a bit longer.
Yeah. Typical Sony.
What do you mean typical Sony? We haven't talked about the Kraven the Hunter trailer.
Oh man.
We'll save that off air, but fuck me. What are they at? Speaking of what are they at, I didn't link these two that well. Oh yeah, because speaking of that woman who plays Miles Morales' mother, she's a mother in another movie called Transformers: Rise of the Beast. Oh, I hope this continues. Transformers: Rise of the Beast. What do you want from me? So this movie is about. I have the names here. Excellent, Gary. Excellent. Well done. So, Anthony Ramos plays Noah Diaz, an ex-military electronics expert who lives with his family in Brooklyn trying to support them. So we've got him, and then we've also got Dominic Fishback, who plays Elena Wallace, an artifact researcher and intern at a museum. And what happens is, through a
confluence of events?
Yeah, what happens all of a sudden is Anthony Ramos ends up... coming across this alien technology, which is Pete Davidson as a car. And it turns out that this beacon has been activated that, Dominic Fishback's character, Elena Wallace is working on. It activates this beacon, which means the Transformers are called in to try and like get this thing. However, the origin of this beacon is fuck me. What am I talking about? The origin of this beacon comes from Cybertron when they were escaping. No, Unicron is this big robot planet that goes around eating other planets, and then he goes around, and then he comes to one planet full of robot transformers, but they're animals. And then...
Sorry, you're talking about the start now.
Yeah, I'm talking about the start. I was giving the origin of the beacon. I feel like if I started with this shit, I would have been completely lost. So what happens then is Unicron is trying to devour this planet, but there's a group of Animorphs? No, what are they called? What are they called again? Maximals. Maximals, again, transformers that are animals, that look to escape this planet with this beacon, which is called a transwarp key. And this transwarp key allows you to travel between... What?
That's twice you've said it now. I'm going to count.
Okay, you're going to count how many times I say transwarp key?
3.
Cool. This is so stupid. Okay, so it allows you to teleport through space. And that's very helpful for Unicron because he wants to go around gobbling up a load of planets. Anyway, the Maximals brought it to Earth, hid it away, and Elena found it, activated it. So the Maximals are like, holy shit, there's the beacon. Same with the Transformers. But then also there's the bad Transformers that aren't the Decepticons, but another type of Transformers because they're the ones that work for the big hungry planet. So this movie is all about...
I can see you losing the will to live.
This movie is all about everyone trying to get the transwarp key, because if it falls into the wrong hands, the Unicron will get it and devour Earth. So it's up to Anthony Ramos and the Transformers and Elena to stop the bad Transformers from getting it. Fuck me. I thought I had a handle on that. I think that was good, wasn't it? I think that was really good. I think that's my best one yet.
That was so concise.
So, what is good and bad about this movie? It's a Transformers movie. It's got the big glorp, chunks of metal running around with absolutely no care or consideration to any sort of structures or people's lives. Look, okay. Story itself, very bland. They've got the MacGuffin. They need to stop the bad guys from getting the MacGuffin. It's not too much of a spoiler, but the bad guys get the MacGuffin for a bit, but it's alright because they sort it out in the end. And what's normally what always holds these movies together is the human element to it, because as we've seen before, Shia LaBeouf was very energetic, and then Megan Fox had she had boobs, so therefore that was all we needed to learn from her character. And then we had Mark Wahlberg, who was getting paid millions to talk about how there's certain laws in America which means it's okay to date minors. And then we had Haley Steinfeld in Bumblebee, which was a fantastic, because that was a very good story with the Transformers implemented into it. So now Paramount have learned from their mistakes in that they haven't done any of that. They went back to what they had done before in the past with very sort of two dynamic human characters interacting with the big robots. So Anthony Ramos, very good actor. He doesn't get too much to do in this, I don't think. And then same with Dominique Fishback, who I haven't seen in much things, but she held her own in this.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the standout in this is Pete Davidson, and that's not even sarcasm. I think he had a very good, charismatic role that lent the movie a lot of comedy.
Well, that's the big thing, and it's always been an issue with these movies for me, is that the robots have just no charisma. Yeah. Like, and it might be sacrilegious to say, what's his name? Brian. Peter Cullen.
Yeah, 80-year-old Peter Cullen.
Yeah,
retire him.
Just
retire
bring
him.
Someone else in. Because, I mean, like, every time Optimus Prime speaks, I'm like, this is your leader. But he's got nothing. Like, that was just the biggest thing for me, is that Pete Davidson actually brought his own sort of spin to it.
Wheels.
Yeah. Him and Anthony Ramos had this kind of back and forth, which I thought was really nice. And it, by the end, certain things happened, but it actually made his actions more meaningful in that way. Yeah. And then, as you were mentioning, I think number one, this movie is actually quite well directed. I think it's very clear. They've added a bit of color to the Transformers, which is nice. But the biggest issue for me is that if this was the first Transformers movies, I think it would be not great, but it would be probably met with a bit more positive reaction. Yeah. But the fact that this is number 7 in the franchise, you're coming off probably your best one, or your best reviewed one in terms of Bumblebee. Yeah. So it just feels like a step backwards. Mm-hmm. And then, I know they've brought in the Maximals. I know some people were probably excited for it, but they just, like, there was two of them that just didn't talk.
Yeah.
They just didn't interact
One
with the
was
rest of them.
Oscar winner Michelle Yeoh, and the other one was
Ron Perlman, wasn't it?
Ron Perlman, yeah.
Yeah. And then like they obviously didn't add voice actors to the other two.
Yeah.
And then another thing that annoyed me was that one character dies halfway through the movie and then just appears at the end. Which I think the action scene he appears for is cool, but it's just kind of You knew
I
it
will
was
say
coming.
that last third act battle, I had a great time.
Yeah.
With that. I thought that was very well directed.
Exactly,
I'm not gonna lie, I actually did get goosebumps at one point. It could have been because I was watching it in IMAX, but like the bit where the two of them on the hill, they were like, "Let's fucking do this, buddy." Loved it. It's in the trailer, but like I hadn't seen the trailer, so I had a good time with it.
I was gonna say something else there. Oh, sorry. Yeah, the 90s references kind of
that's
annoyed
my
me.
next point. Yeah.
Now, I enjoyed the soundtrack, but it kind of felt a bit like what was that movie we saw recently that was just like, Super Mario Bros. Had like, just like
needle drops.
What's
to
next?
Keep the energy,
what's next? And there's Air as well had that as well.
Yeah, and I think also as well, you get a lot of cheap laughs because there's a scene where Elena's on a plane and she's nervous and she's singing to herself, and then Anthony Ramos
TLC.
She's singing a bit of TLC. Don't go chasing waterfalls. A Michael Keaton reference. I could have connected those if I wanted to, but I'm too good at connecting movies these days, David. I didn't need it. And she's just singing "Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls," which is funny. You're like, oh, I know the song from the 90s, and they're like, but again, I think just if it was set in present day and she started singing, I don't know, WAP. I'd be like,
Wow.
is that what the kids are listening to these days? I don't know. But Dizzy Rascal, I don't know. I would just be like, yeah, you're a bit weird, aren't you?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's totally
It's
fine.
good globe trotting stuff.
Yeah.
That's all fun. And it's I think my problem is the first act is too long.
Yeah.
Because I realized that like that whole thing before they get on a plane is an hour long, and I'm like, where was that time going?
Yeah.
And again, I think there's a fine mix with these. There's a fine balance with these movies where it's either like you're either going to focus on the human characters and make their character development a thing, or you're going to have the big robots smashing each other. That's something Bumblebee did very well because it kind of had those moments sort of.
It was well balanced.
It was well balanced. Whereas I don't think in this, I think they were just like, we need another big blockbuster and we need to make like $1 billion.
The villain, very bland, very boring.
Yeah, a bit disappointing from Peter Dinklage.
Peter Dinklage, yeah.
I would have expected more from him.
The villain actually uses the same plan 3 times in the movie and it doesn't work. So that was just something I noticed halfway through. It's
Did you see that? Because he has like 2 sidekicks.
Yeah.
One's in like a pickup truck maybe, and the other one is in like something you'd see driving around some shady parts of Dublin. I was just like, that's a dirty car. I was like, he's definitely a bad guy.
Yeah.
Oh, some other great people in this cast, though, by the way. We've got, what's his name? Cristo Fernandez from Ted Lasso's in this.
Yeah.
He's great. Who else we got? We got John DiMaggio. He plays Stratosphere. He plays the plane. There's some other good people in this. I forgot about that.
But my biggest issue is there's almost no differentiating the characters.
No.
Like, there's just, and I'd almost just like them to say, this is your character. Add whatever you want to it. If you want to make them, funny, silly.
Well, it's the same with Lisa Koshy as RC. We don't get enough of her either.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like, I feel like they should treat the Transformers the same way they're treating the live action characters. Like they seem to add, like seem to give Anthony Ramos like cues on. You need to be a bit like tactical. You need to be a bit silly, a bit scared at times. But like, why don't do that for the Transformers as well?
Pete Davidson did that.
But that's exactly what I'm saying.
I just read this little thing where it says Davidson described voicing Mirage as Jim Carrey's The Mask meets Bugs Bunny. Of course, I would love it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, no, I completely agree. There's just not enough. And there's too many of them. There's far too many of them. Like, you could take the Maximals out of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, like, obviously they need to be in it because otherwise, how do they get the transwarp key? Is that 5 then?
Yeah, I think
cool. So yeah, and then I don't know. I think it's a fine time. But there's 2 things about this I have to mention. One, they mentioned Marky Mark.
Yeah.
What's going on there,
I
David?
know, yeah. Oh, does Mark Wahlberg
exactly
exist in this universe?
Mind blown. 2, there is a very cool Easter egg. Not even Easter egg. There's just a very cool Nick Fury-esque Avengers moment in the end of this that I was well on board with. And if they make another one, I'm very excited about it.
Okay.
I think it'd be fun.
Yeah, yeah. Did you enjoy... No, never mind.
I've enjoyed nothing.
You don't enjoy...
I am hollow.
Yeah, I don't know. Could be the Rock's next franchise.
Oh, he'd fight a Transformer.
Yeah,
he'd fight one.
He'd be like pulling it with a chain. He'd be like...
He wouldn't even. He'd be just uppercut. He'd be all like... Yeah, I don't know. He'd be all like...
Punch it in the toe.
Yeah. What a weird boy. Right. Shall we move on to the next movie?
Yeah, go
that
on.
I've linked perfectly
Let's link it
well.
together.
This is hard.
What is the next one? Sorry, I'm just getting a review.
Asteroid City.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just moving on to Asteroid City. Is there
Yeah.
any overlap there?
No,
Any of the cast? No, unfortunately not. Sorry, we're gonna have to move on to. Yeah, I should
skip
have.
it.
Look, I'm a bad man. I should have done this correctly. Right, we're gonna talk about Asteroid City.
Asteroid City.
Oh, speaking of Mark Wahlberg, Asteroid City.
Okay, Asteroid City is the latest installment in director.
Wes Anderson's delusional Hollywood career.
Yeah, Wes Anderson's next film, Asteroid City. So this, I will say, it's convoluted. It's about a
Go on, David, tell me.
director-writer who is writing a play, which we also get to see on screen, which takes place in a, what did I say, California, Nevada, Arizonan desert town called Asteroid City, where there is a big crater that was created by an asteroid, which is kind of where they get its fame
It's more
from.
of a town, though, isn't it?
Town. There is a cafe, there is a motel, there's a half-built bridge. And what we get to see is, number one, how the process in which the writer writes the play, but also we get to see how the play unfolds in front of our eyes. But it's really the movie. Now, okay. What I will say is,
This is the one me and David haven't talked about yet.
I enjoy Wes Anderson's comedy. I enjoy his little quirkiness. I know it's not for everyone. I know it's especially not for Gary. And personally, I think he wrote this story. It's way too convoluted. I think he probably got about 4 or 5 ideas and just decided to stick them all together. But personally, I actually had a fun time with this. I enjoy being in the world. It was, the silly little jokes at times, which just had me chuckling. It's not good. I'm willing to say that, and it's definitely not for everyone. I wouldn't recommend this to people. It would be more just like, if you like Wes Anderson, maybe go see it. I'm personally probably rank it towards the end of his movies when you think. But I just had a good time. It's like, just to be able to turn your brain off for a bit and see some famous actors interact with each other in this quirky little world. I like the colours. I know I'm a child, but I thought
This movie's not good, but I like the colours.
The balance between real world black and white and the colours that appear in Asteroid City, I thought was pretty cool. Yeah, I don't think it's good, but I had a good time with it. And
I have this little like MIDI synopsis of it here, which is set just to like. It goes, set in the 1950s, a TV host introduces a televised production of the in-universe fictional Asteroid City, a play by famed playwright Conrad Earp. In it, a young astronomy convention is held in a fictional desert town of the same name, and the play's events are depicted in widescreen and stylized colour, while the TV special is seen in black and white at Academy ratio. The fuck?
That's what I was saying. He just had about 4 ideas and just mixed them all together. I feel like he was trying to. So the big thing with me here is I've seen a lot of different things popping up. So like there's a quarantine scene, which I thought is that linked to COVID. There is a scene depicting a playwright, and I'm trying to think is Wes Anderson trying to put himself on screen and trying to see his. But it's whatever you think. I don't know. Tell me what you think, because
it's pretentious as fuck. It's so pretentious.
It's so up its hole.
It's so up its own hole. And I just think it's so funny that he's coming out against all the TikTok stuff, and he's all like, that's not what I'm about, but he just made a movie about that. The story, look, I understand movies always have they're a bit more abstract. I can't make heads or tails of this. It's very meta, but to no point. I don't even get a chuckle of like, oh, that's a very good observation. It's just kind of like saying stuff for the sake of it, to be like, look at me saying these things.
Selling the land, I thought that was funny. In the desert,
but it never pays off. I don't know that this is this movie in a whole. Nothing pays off.
Yeah,
everything feels like things are set up and there's no conclusion to any of it. Right. I don't get it. And the characters themselves, all unlikable. I couldn't root for anyone, and I love all these actors. This movie's obviously meant to. There's some emotional moments in it because our main character, Jason Schwartzman's wife, had passed away, and he's with his kids, and the grandfather character comes in later, and you're meant to feel like a sort of sadness, I think.
There's no heart in it either.
And you get Tom Hanks,
Yeah.
the king of heartfelt emotional heart scenes, of hearty heartness. Like, he could do anything. He'll make you feel sad about, like, a fork. Like, it's just, but this nothing. And I think the jokes, there are some funny jokes in it. I did laugh, I had to say. I did have a good time with it. But you know, those laughs are like, or like, just like those type of laughs. And I just think, I think it's for diehard fans. The dialogue, it's just very robotic. I know it's Wes Anderson's style, but it just, again, never felt like it paid off to anything. The camera moves. There's scenes where the camera just moves. You know, when sometimes they're giving the speech and they move in the head and the camera, like, I felt dizzy at times. I'm like, what are you moving? The camera stays. I felt like I was watching a fucking 1970s Scorsese movie where he's coked out of his mind. I was just like, what is this? And then, like, the colours, I don't know. I just felt they were a bit much at times, especially when you're contrasting with the black and white. I was like, ow.
Yeah.
My
I
eyes.
feel like, look, I definitely think he had an idea for about 45 minutes and he's just stretched that out way too much. I think, like, Bryan Cranston stuff, cut that all out. Maybe just do the stuff in Asteroid City. And
if it was just Asteroid City and it was all about a quarantine and all about a bit like love and grief and all that sort of stuff, I'd be more tolerable for it. But what's annoying is that it's not too much of a spoiler. The payoff of the Asteroid City stuff is in the play, or is in the black and white scenes. But even at that, there's two characters have a conversation. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And that's the end of it. Kind of. And then there's an acting class scene and they all repeat the same thing.
Yeah.
Balls. Balls, David. That was such balls. I upset myself so much that day by watching that movie at 1:20. I was fresh. You know me. The earlier I see a movie in the day, the better. That's why I have great things to say about Beau's Afraid and Indiana Jones 2: Destiny. But this movie, 1:20 on a Sunday, no less.
Yeah.
Bad mood central.
Yeah. Oh, as I say, I don't think it's good. I wouldn't recommend it to people. I just had a fun time with it.
But see, my other problem is, I'd love to see Wes Anderson direct something that he didn't write.
Yeah.
He directs everything he writes.
There was another guy who wrote
Roman
the story.
Coppola.
Roman Coppola, yeah, sorry.
We all know where he comes from.
Wes Anderson wrote the screenplay, but Roman Coppola and him wrote the story.
Oh, then he needs to be stopped.
Yeah.
Either way. No, I think I'd love to see him direct something that he didn't write. I think it'd be really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, imagine him directing something written by... Who's fun? Aaron Sorkin.
Yeah.
Imagine
a court scene.
Yeah.
With Wes Anderson directing. Like I can't disagree with anything. It's just more my personal preference. I had a fun time. But
great cast.
I just there was just way too much to it. And like,
I like the song. There's a good song in it.
There's a good song in it.
On top of that.
There was it's stretched way too thinly. It's like butter spread over too much bread. It's just, there's holes in it everywhere.
You just feel like you've been holding on to the one ring for too long.
Exactly. That's where that's from. Sorry. I was thinking where I was getting to. But don't rush out to see it. Go watch Grand Budapest Hotel or
go watch No Hard Feelings.
No Hard Feelings, exactly.
100%. If you were looking for a proper comedy, speaking about butter spread over too much, spread over too much bread.
Yeah.
Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I told you I connected these somehow. Is it my turn?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is this our last film?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, we mentioned this one. We didn't do Tell Me I Saw the other day because David hasn't done any movies this month.
I did 2 movies and I'll recommend them to nobody.
There you go. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. We meet up with Harrison Ford, Indiana, in 1969.
No, before that. Do you remember?
Did they not go to the moon?
Flashback.
Oh no.
Okay.
So we meet him in 1969 and Harrison Ford, Indiana Jones, is retiring, but all of a sudden his goddaughter comes into play about this certain artifact that her father, Indiana Jones' busy mate, who we haven't heard about for the last 4 movies, was obsessed with, but she wants to try and find it to be able to honor her father's legacy. But we realize with this artifact there's a bit of history with it because we go back to 1941.
Sure.
Why not? Where Indiana Jones had actually...
Oh no, it was towards the end of the war.
1944 or something. Around Sisu time.
Exactly. That's a callback to
the last episode. Or the last monthly episode. So we realised that his paths had crossed with this dial before when he was teaming up with Toby Jones, who was playing Phoebe Waller-Bridge's father. She's the goddaughter. And he comes up against Mads Mikkelsen's Jürgen Voller. And flash forward, like I said, to 1969, and Mads Mikkelsen's Jürgen Voller has helped the US get to the moon, but his real goal is he wants to find this Dial of Destiny. So it's all about Indiana Jones, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and Mads Mikkelsen all trying to get this dial because it's Archimedes' dial and it does something bad.
Yeah.
That's about it, isn't it?
I distinctly remember Christmas in my grandparents' house being told about Indiana Jones for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as a, I don't know, 7, 8, 9-year-old being told, oh, we should watch Indiana Jones. Sounds a bit goofy, right? It's Indiana Jones, you know, it does.
So it sounds like a name for a dog.
Yeah, doesn't it?
The dog's name is Indiana.
It sounds a bit silly, but we sat down and watched it, and I've been captivated by the character ever since.
Okay.
I love Indiana Jones.
He's like your James Bond.
Yeah, he is. Like he's Spielberg's James Bond.
Yeah.
I love those first 3 movies. I think they're almost the perfect trilogy.
Oh.
Now, what I will say about this movie is it's a fun time. Some people will find some enjoyment from it. My biggest issue is I was just unsatisfied by the end. And I think the biggest issue with making an Indiana Jones movie now is that those first 3 movies were just so, you know, set in their time in terms of like the way they were manufactured and built and stuff. The practical effects, everything was just grimy and dirty. Whereas it's just with the CGI in this, it was just so it made things look so shiny and clean, which just it doesn't feel Indiana Jonesy. I can't say I love seeing, you know, Harrison Ford playing the character again, seeing him on screen, and he does a decent job at times. There is some flashback scenes which I thought were probably some of the best de-aging we got. It's not perfect, but it's some of the best we've seen, especially when you compare it to the likes of Luke Skywalker and Carrie Fisher's Princess Leia in Star Wars, and who else? Tarkin as well. Yeah. So like they've definitely really improved that, but again, it's not perfect. That opening scene is probably my favorite bit in the movie. Yeah. Phoebe Waller-Bridge is grand. Story wise, I think there's a lot of holes in it for me. Like what happened to Mads Mikkelsen's character between flashback and present day is a little bit wonky. I'm not gonna dig, you know. I'm not going to nitpick, but
sounds
it's
like
just,
you are.
Yeah, exactly. It is a nitpick. But yeah, my biggest thing from this movie was just kind of unsatisfaction by the whole thing. And I don't know if I had huge expectations going into it. I suppose when you get the likes of James Mangold back on board, you know, you have obviously Harrison Ford, Phoebe Waller-Bridge doing parts of the script. I kind of had certain expectations. But yeah, just a little bit disappointing. And yeah, I kind of wish they'd kind of stop dealing with this character, or else, you know what, recast and put him back against the Nazis. Just
he's already said, Harrison Ford came out and said, if I die, the character dies.
Okay, and maybe that's the best thing to do. But like they've done other Indiana Jones projects without him. Yeah. So like, but yeah, I what I will say is if you're going out to see it and you want to see it, do make up your own mind, because I'm not going to say that. No, because I'm not going to say that my opinion is the only correct one. You know, as you said, Gary, you went in with probably lowered expectation and you enjoyed this. But yeah, it's if this wasn't Indiana Jones, I think I'd have a better time with it.
This was going to be my counter argument. Is it better or worse than Uncharted?
Yeah, and see, that's the thing.
You gave Uncharted 4 stars.
I had a great time with Uncharted.
But it's because of the source material.
Exactly.
I get that. And that all comes down to expectations.
Yeah.
And I went in with low expectations, you went in with high expectations. And I wasn't blown away. I had a great time with this. Again, it's not
I don't know if it is better than Uncharted, but anyway, go on.
No, I think I disagree. I don't think what you're saying is incorrect, but I would disagree with some of it. Yeah. Where it's like, I think this is a really fun, thrilling, globe-trotting adventure where I don't really care about some of the plot holes, or I don't think there is many plot holes. I just think it's, you just go to A to B and it's kind of just a fun action set piece in each of the adventures, and like you kind of follow around this dial, and it does all the classic Indiana Jones, or all the sort of treasure hunter and things where you might have to team up with the bad guy at one point, and then it looks like Dave's up your hand, and it ticks all those beats. But I think what sort of stands out for me about this movie, in compared to like maybe the more average ones, is James Mangold's directing. It's not Spielberg Indiana Jones, like, don't get me wrong, it doesn't match up to that, but I think some of the action directing is very, very good. Some of the line delivery, it's great by both Waller-Bridge and Ford. I agree, Ford's not very energetic in this, but he does the best he can. He's 80 years old. Still got some sort of rig. He's got a great rig on him. And Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character, a lot of people are giving it shtick because they kind of preconceived notions of what that type of character is going to be in this movie.
Yeah.
And she's not really, but she's a really nice counterbalance to Harrison
Yeah.
Ford in that she is morally corrupt,
Yeah.
but they both have the same goal. And because they have that shared past, they're on the same side. And it's really interesting to see Harrison Ford kind of teaming up with that person, because he hasn't really had to do it in the past in the Indiana Jones franchise. I'll agree, the kid that's in it, he's fine. He's no short round.
Yeah.
But what you call it, I think he still does a fine job. The CGI for me, that was the biggest thing about it. I didn't love the digital de-aging. And I think some of the like background CGI, I felt like it was maybe on the void or something like that. But the action scenes, the tuk-tuk scene, the opening train scene, all of them have this escalating sort of momentum. And then they all have that typical Indiana Jones, like, he thinks he's safe, but it's about to get 10 times worse. And there's some nice little callbacks to the originals. There's some great thing about snakes that me and you had a really good time at as well. It's got the Williams score, which I think makes it as well.
Yeah.
The villain is the villain. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's just you switch your brain off and you go to your cinema, you watch it on a big screen, and it's a fun time. I think if you look at it as potentially the last Indiana Jones movie to close out a story, it's not good in that sense. Yeah. But yeah, it's just a fun globe trot time.
I will agree with you. I think I enjoyed the action set pieces. Probably my biggest issue is like they had certain action set pieces set out. The threads between them just a little bit too loose for me, and I don't know. It just kind of felt like, oh, we need to go here to do this, and that's all they were doing, checking boxes. Now, my final point, and what I will say is, someone asked me, I like or I've never seen Indiana Jones. Should I go see this movie? And my answer was no. Just go home and watch Last Crusade. Watch Raiders.
Would it not be better to watch this and then go back to watch the originals? Or if they really like the first three based on your recommendation, and then they go like, oh, can't wait for number 5, and then you're like,
so
David
you think you want to lower their expectations with this one, and then maybe, but like I just said, instead of wasting your money and wasting your time with watching watching this 2.5 hour movie, go home and watch the original trilogy, which is far better.
I stand by this as a fun turn your brain off blockbuster.
But that's what I'm saying. Like you're saying the other 3 aren't as good. Are you saying
those are different movies? That's
what I'm
movies.
saying. You're much if you haven't seen Indiana Jones before, this is not the one to see first. In the same way, like with I don't know, Ant-Man, I don't know, Star Wars.
What?
Sorry, I'm just thinking of something.
If you haven't seen Ant-Man 1,
I just go
back and watch.
I'm trying to think of something that's like terrible recently, and just like if you go back and watch the originals, but
Fast and Furious.
The first one.
Yeah, buddy. Back when they were actually racing on the streets. Live action Disney remakes.
Yeah, there you go. Little Mermaid.
Little Mermaid.
I should really watch the original.
Oh, Creed 3. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, watch Rocky.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think I'm very surprised at how polarized we are on this. But again, you have much more of a deep-rooted love for Indiana Jones. You do.
I'm even trying to take that out of the equation.
You can't though.
I'm trying to, but I still don't think. Now that you say it, I think I had a better time, like objectively, with Uncharted.
Fair.
Like the fact that
even with the kids talking behind us.
Yeah, I know. The 2 characters in that give more like enthusiasm to the role than.
Oh no!
Harrison
Come on!
Ford.
I think Harrison Ford puts a lot of enthusiasm into this. He's just old, like.
I know.
He's like
put him to bed.
Nah, I don't know. I think it's weird. One, why was this a Cannes?
Yeah.
And 2, there's no message besides Nazis are bad and they love art. You gotta give it to the Nazis at some point. Like they liked a lot of art. You know what I mean? They were cultured. Bad people.
Yeah.
I should edit that out.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just trying to think like.
Look, put it this way: the Nazis were never looking for the transwarp key.
They were looking for a different MacGuffin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
Look, yeah, we can move on. Look. Put it this way: as soon as that's dropping on Disney Plus, there's your Friday movie sorted.
Not for me.
Go watch Rylane instead.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Should we start talking about what's coming out next month?
Go for it.
The end of cinema. Movies are over after this month. We've established.
Oh yeah.
As a society, because you're either I'm really fucking sick of the Barbie Oppenheimer thing. I'm actually just.
You're either a plastic doll or an atomic bomb.
Just, and this whole thing about the double feature thing is like, no. Like I'm a psychopath who's been to 3 movies in a day, but going to see Barbie and Oppenheimer the same day, opening weekend, are you mad? Be a load of lunatics. Anyway,
I don't know.
we'll
That's
do
what's that, 5.5 hours in the cinema?
nonsense.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, we'll get kickstarted. Elemental, woo! I didn't write any of the descriptions down. He's made of water, she's made of flames, and there's wind people and grass people. Well, how will they ever get on? It's a love story. It's Pixar. It didn't make a lot of money because it's already out in the States. It seems to be doing okay. Review wise, I'll watch it when it gets on Disney Plus.
Yeah, correct.
The movies. Everyone's like, oh, will Mission Impossible be good? Will Oppenheimer be good? Will Barbie be good? Guys, what do you do? What are you leaving your gaff? Why are you spending like 15, 20 quid to go watch a movie on a big screen? Watch a movie at home, in the comfort of your own home, on Netflix. A service that as far as I'm aware, has never done anything wrong to gouge money out of people. And watch a movie called The Outlaws. It's a beautiful, this movie called The Outlaws, and everyone's like, Gary, what the fuck's The Outlaws? I have no idea what you're talking about, Gary. But the other way, I was like, hey, No Hard Feelings looks good. And last month I was like, Strays is coming out, even though it's August. But everyone's missing out on The Outlaws, David. It's directed by Tyler Spindle. You know, the guy who did The Wrong Missy for Netflix, which everyone said was the worst movie ever. He's also directed the Rob Schneider comedy special on Netflix. So this guy knows comedy, David, all right? I know what you're thinking, just get to it, but no. And who else does it have? It has Adam Devine in it. Devine, yeah. He's in a load of great stuff. Nina Dobrev? What? Comedy queen. You've got Ellen Barkin. Are you... Look, let's say you're not barking up the wrong tree with this. And then you've got... Who's this character? One sec, is that... I can't read the name, but by the looks, David, he looks like he's from Navan. Navan native actor Pierce Brendan Brosnan getting a big filthy paycheck from Netflix to appear in a movie that looks awful. It looks so bad. So basically it's about a straight-laced bank manager is about to marry the love of his life when his bank is held up by the infamous ghost bandits during his wedding week, and he believes his future in-laws who have just arrived in town are the famous outlaws. Did you get it?
Yeah.
That was too much.
Yeah. I think you gave that movie way too much time.
I think I talked about that more than I did Asteroid City.
I'm sure the amount of time you've put into that bit was double the amount of time they put into the concept building.
How
this
dare
movie.
you? Are you saying that Ben Zazovi and Ellen Turner didn't think about it? You know Ben Zazovi, who did Sherlock Gnomes and The Tooth Fairy 2, The Better Tooth Fairy.
Really?
No. And then the other guy who hasn't written any other movies before. This looks awful. This looks woeful. This is the type of movie where I'd see it be coming out on Netflix. Like, the problem with Netflix is they're not making good movies. But Pierce Brosnan's in it, so I'll probably watch it. They make a joke about James Bond. They make a joke about it being the fifth James Bond, David.
Oh, they do.
Did you watch the trailer?
No.
Mate.
I don't watch trailers.
You're not leaving this house.
I don't watch trailers. Never mind trailers for bad movies.
Anyway, it looks awful.
Skip it.
Then next week, the 10th of July or the 14th of July, depending where you are, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
It's what's his name again? Ethan Hunt. Ethan Hunt.
Not the actor.
Not the actor. He's gone rogue, and it's up to
Again?
I'm making this up. Don't take this as real. But I'm gonna guess. He needs something from his past has come out, and he needs to get the gang back together again to pull off a stunt that we would deem improbable, if not impossible. And there's some secret society and the CIA or whatever place he used to work for.
IMF.
The IMF are trying to get him, but he's not going to let them because he's fucking going to go out there and do it.
That sounds like the last four.
But that's why I think I'm right.
Yeah, exactly.
Surely, no?
You
excited for this?
It also sounded a little bit like a Fast and Furious movie. Look, I am excited for this. Although I do feel like, he's kind of lost his mind.
I think this is going to make boffo money based off of... this is a long one. Ethan Hunt and his IMF team embark on their most dangerous mission yet, to track down a terrifying new weapon that threatens all of humanity before it falls into the wrong hands.
The rabbit's foot.
It's a bit of Fast and Furious here now. With the control of the future and the fate of the world at stake, and dark forces from Ethan's past closing in, I'm kind of right. The deadly race around the globe begins, confronted by a mysterious, all-powerful enemy. Yeah. Ethan is forced to consider that nothing can matter more than his mission, not even the lives of those he cares about. So someone's dying. Someone's died at the end of this, and then they'll be like, continued part 2.
Like Dobby at the end of the first Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Or the 6th Harry Potter, 7th? I can't remember.
7th one.
Yeah.
I am
Someone's getting Dobby. I am looking forward to this, but we'll see.
Great cast.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm trying to think there. Agent Carter. What's her name?
Hayley Atwell.
Hayley Atwell. She hasn't been in this before.
No.
And the girl who plays
Rebecca Ferguson.
No, the
Palm
girl who
Clementov.
plays the girl who plays
Vanessa Kirby.
Vanessa Kirby. Yeah.
There we
the
go.
Queen's sister.
Yes, and the new Sue Storm.
Yes, allegedly. Or is
I
that
think
confirmed?
Don't know.
Has she been in it before? I can't remember the last one.
The last one was Henry
Cavill?
Cavill, and she was in the last one.
See, was she also in Hobbs and Shaw?
She's also in Hobbs and Shaw. Yeah,
'Cause
she's also in Jupiter Ascending.
I
and
think
Everest.
that's what I'm confusing it with. No, look, we'll see.
Look, I think
These are always a romp of a movie.
yeah, they're always a fun time.
Especially the fact the last one we've seen with this crew is Top Gun Maverick. Like directorial
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Christopher McQuarrie, known for just only doing
Tom Cruise movies. Yeah.
I want John's little top nut secret. I want him to do a James Bond movie.
There we go.
I know, starring Tom Cruise as James Bond.
Oh wow, an American.
Yeah, I've watched a lot of Tom Cruise movies recently,
Yeah.
and by that I mean I've watched two. I watched The Color of Money, and I've watched Risky Business this morning.
Yeah.
He's a fucked individual. And then, as aforementioned, the two big movies this month, Oppenheimer and this year, I guess, Barbie and Oppenheimer. Barbie is about the doll, and Oppenheimer's about the bomb.
Yeah.
One's about a bomb, one's about a bombshell.
It's pretty simple, folks. The only thing I have to say is I hope Oppenheimer is good. Actually, no, I only hope that Cillian Murphy's performance in Oppenheimer is good so that he gets into Oscar contention, because that man deserves an Oscar because he's from Cork.
An underrepresented portion. Do you see? This is where I get the podcast gets the most loose. Do you see Paul Mescal's been invited to join the Academy?
Yeah.
Why? He bought a rug.
Yeah, sorry, do you not get inducted into the Academy
If
when
you win.
Oh, okay,
But
sorry.
they've invited a lot of people to add more diversity and stuff like that, so there wasn't anyone from Kildare. So, and also he has a nice rug.
Do you mean from the movie?
After Sun,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
That's
'Cause
gonna,
all he
that's gonna
does.
feature heavily in the Punisher podcast, by
Okay.
the way.
Class. Because that's all he does in that movie.
He just buys a rug.
Yeah. He cries a bit.
Cries a bit, but then don't worry, he feels better because it's a rug.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a bit weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
There was someone else though famous, wasn't there?
The girl wasn't your one.
Shoe? No. Shoe?
There's a load of people who were inducted, like Brendan Fraser and all those. Anyway, so Oppenheimer, stacked cast. Christopher Nolan's coming back with a bang after Warner Brothers were like, hey, can you make a movie for a certain amount of money, and then, like, you know, we get these percentages? And he's like, no, I'm taking my bomb and I'm going to another company.
Yeah.
Universal are like, you can have whatever the fuck you want, just make us a load of money.
Yeah.
So he made this 3-hour movie about how the atomic bomb was made, with the cast, with one of the most stacked casts of all time. But yeah, most importantly, Cillian Murphy as Mr. Oppenheimer.
Yeah.
I have a hot take that this is gonna be mid. I'm happy to be proven wrong, but
So wait, you didn't like Tenet or Tenet?
I thought Tenet was fine.
Yeah.
I thought Interstellar had very good visual moments, but as a story, I thought it was meh. Same with Tenet, and I feel like it's going to happen with Oppenheimer, where he's going to be so focused on bomb shit, it's actually going to be a boring 3-hour movie. I just want a good Nolan movie to get excited about. Exception's great.
Do you not think like this is going to be more of a character study? The fact that it is about
I hope so.
Yeah.
But I there's something about, like, Christopher Nolan will be sitting in a room with a camera pointed at Cillian Murphy, and he's just like, no, this has got to be bigger. Can we just like
this is going to be on IMAX.
That's what I mean. He's like, he is so, I don't know, I could be so proven wrong, but this is the hunch I'm getting from the movie. It just seems to be very like,
Yeah.
selling me on the spectacle rather than the story.
See, I don't know if it is. I feel like I haven't watched any trailers apart from the ones that's in cinemas.
Yeah.
And the nice thing about that is they've put a trailer in cinemas, which is just a teaser, which means that you don't get, and like I know there's a big cast behind this. I can't remember who's in it. I think Matt Damon's in it.
I could do a list if you
No,
want.
don't tell me.
Oh, do you don't know?
No, I've definitely heard names.
Benny
but
Safdie's in it.
Oh, we're gonna hear about that. But that's why I'm excited, is the fact that I don't know anything about this. I know it's gonna be, and I like Cillian Murphy is front and center, and I feel like it's gonna be a character study on him, his thoughts, his regrets, his, you know, and from what I can tell, the little bit of the trailers I've seen, I feel like it's going to go through his life, maybe pre a bomb, during bomb, after bomb, and hopefully we'll get to see that character involved. Sorry, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, After Bomb just sounds like a much better name for After Sun.
Yeah, but like, see that character evolve, and that's what I'm hoping to see, and I'm sure hopefully there's some sort of like the whole US military construct and all this stuff. Hopefully he just,
I hope so as well. I honestly hope so.
Yeah,
I'm just worried.
Yeah.
I just don't think Nolan is a guaranteed deliverer anymore.
Yeah. That's
Because
fair.
especially when there's no studio experience.
It's always, concept over...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, happy to be proven wrong. This is just my hunch on it.
Yeah.
And I feel like what's going to happen is the internet are going to tell me this movie's great, and I'm going to come out of it being like, that was fine. Happy to be proven wrong?
Yeah.
That's my hunch.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, I have the exact same thing with Barbie. Where Barbie is, the tagline is, to live in Barbie land is to be a perfect being in a perfect place, unless you have a full existential crisis or you're a Ken.
Okay.
So this movie is Margot Robbie's Barbie.
Yeah.
And she goes into the real world and starts to realize that the sort of, I guess, the nuances of being a woman, I think,
woman.
in sort of real life, and what sort of is expected of women, i.e. in like the Barbie land and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's directed by Greta Gerwig. Incredible director. She did Little Women and Frances Ha, which I have not watched. I will watch before I get
Ladybird?
Ladybird, yes. I've done it. I was
Sorry,
building up to it. So yeah, those I love Little Women. Wasn't a big fan of Ladybird, and Frances Ha, TBD. But it's written by Noah Baumbach.
Yeah, hit and miss.
Hit and miss. I liked Marriage Story, but you watch White Noise.
Yeah, that was nonsense.
So yeah,
that was on Netflix. So.
This movie looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I want the comedy to be there. There looks to be very funny moments in it. Ryan Gosling has come out and said it's the best script he's ever read. Time Magazine said it was good. Notoriously good movie reviewers, Time Magazine. So it must be good. No, I don't know. I'm looking for a fun time. It seems to have some really funny, witty observations on society that I'm hoping to enjoy as well. But does that mean it's a good movie?
Yeah.
That's my worry.
I'm kind of with you there. Does it get too meta?
Yeah. That's my thing. It's like, is it all more message than movie?
Yeah.
That's what I'm worried about. Again, happy to be proven wrong. But I feel what's going to happen is the internet is going to say this is good, and I'll come out and being like, it was fine.
So who's wrong?
Oh, like I'm happy to be wrong. Like again, I know what my review of Indiana Jones is very inflated to what other people think.
Yeah.
But as someone with a movie podcast,
Yeah,
I feel like
exactly.
I stand for something.
Exactly. You've got two legs to stand on.
Yeah, I love Ryan Gosling.
Yeah.
I love him with a passion. I tell you why I'd also, speaking of actually wanting Oppenheimer to do well for Cillian Murphy, I'd love this to do well for Margot Robbie. I think she is an incredible actress. I think she has had awful luck with picking movies recently. Between Amsterdam, Asteroid City.
She wasn't really in that.
No, she wasn't. And then
what was the other one she was in yet last year? It was literally came out the same time as Amsterdam, wasn't it? Babylon. She was in
Babylon. Oh, she's great in Babylon.
I know she's great in Babylon.
Unbelievable about bad movie though.
Yeah.
Same with Birds of Prey. Same with she was great in Bombshell as well.
Yeah.
Oh, she's not. I don't know what she was like, but she was in The Legend of Tarzan.
You seen that?
Huh?
Did you not see that?
I have seen it, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I can't fucking remember what she's like now. I was too busy focused on that Hosier song. And then she's also in About Time, a movie with a corrupt message that people need to be more angry about. She's a great actress. Sorry. She's great. She's great in Wolf of Wall Street. She's great. She's how do I describe it? She's well used in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but I don't like what she was used to do. And she's great. She's great in I,
She doesn't
Tonya.
get enough time in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Great, yeah, great in I, Tonya. Great as Harley Quinn. But so I want to see her have a big movie behind it, and this is I feel like her last big shot to have a movie that is going to be highly marketed, highly budgeted or funded and stuff like that. So I'd love it to do well for her and for the Gauze as well.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen the memes about like obviously Tom Cruise and the Mission Impossible crew, and then Greta Gerwig, Margot Robbie, and the Barbie crew are all getting on the bandwagon of like 2 tickets to Barbie, 2 tickets to Oppenheimer. Just the memes about like Christopher Nolan knocking on Cillian Murphy's door.
Come on, Barbie, let's go party.
Yeah, exactly. Cillian Murphy's just like, no, that's not my job.
You ever seen the interview of him of someone being like, "Oh, so you and Tom Hardy are both British?" And he goes, "Irish." I'm Irish. He's like, "Oh, so you're both from that northern Irish."
Exactly. That man takes no shit.
I love it. It's great. Also in this movie, by the way, do you mind if I say the cast for this?
Yeah, go on.
You know, you got Ryan Gosling, like I said, American Friera. She's very funny.
Yeah.
Will Ferrell, Issa Rae. Would love her to be funny in this compared to Across Spider-Verse. Kate McKinnon. I love her in SNL. I don't like what she's doing in the trailer.
Yeah.
So I'm unsure about it. Rhea Perlman's in this, who you might know from Matilda.
Yeah.
What else? Who else is in this? Emma Mackey from Sex Education. Same with the new Doctor Who. What's his name?
Oh, I don't know his name, yeah. You dirty pig.
Why is it on Letterboxd? Letterboxd is good. Just ignore this being bad. And then there's a lot of other like people who I want this movie to do well for them as well.
Yeah.
And I look
Simu
Leo as well. Michael Cera.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm apprehensive about it. I think it's got a lot going against it that the marketing's paving over.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like that's probably a good thing though, that you're lower.
Yeah, I've low expectations for both.
Yeah.
And just remember, if I am right about this, I'm gonna fucking milk it for years.
But again, that's going to be your opinion. Like that's not, that won't be objective truth.
No.
But nothing is objective truth in your
Well,
in
except
your
for
head.
Asteroid City being balls.
Yeah,
Like that's not my opinion. That is a balls movie.
Yeah, that's fair. I can agree with that.
Yeah,
I
fair.
didn't change my enjoyment.
There you go. Should have. Yes, that's July. Ooh, we have a nice short episode next month.
Is there nothing coming out that last weekend?
No,
Like,
who's going
nothing's
up against the other
nothing's
two?
going- Okay.
So there you go.
I don't know. I feel like there's a chance for a little indie movie to
Go
sneak
watch
its
No
way
Hard
there.
Feelings again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's it, David.
That's it.
That's it.
That's June.
I had a great time.
That's Dune 2.
Hmm?
That's June done.
June is done. But yeah, it's great. Look at us talking about movies, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, David, you can beat an egg, but you can't beat this. Am I right? I am so tired. Right,
Cool.
Dave.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, jeez, thanks, man. Thanks for coming back. I also want to thank anyone who's listened to this and any of the other episodes. And if they want to keep up to date, you know what they can do there? They can follow @ReadingOfThePeers on Instagram. They can follow the YouTube, the TikTok, the Letterboxd. All the links are in the description. There's also the email, readingofthepeers@gmail.com, where you can send us emails to be like, "Ha, you're so wrong about Oppenheimer," and that'd be fair, but that's their opinion, and I know I'm right. Subscribe and follow on Spotify and Apple, and give us 5 stars and stuff like that. And anything else?
I was going to mention something that I've been doing recently. So what I do is I listen to the podcast on Spotify, and then I typically turn on a video on YouTube of the podcast in my background while I'm working, just to get more views on
Bump the numbers.
bump the numbers.
Yeah,
So-
because there's some studios that aren't playing ball and aren't letting me go to things. So I need more people to like this.
You should call them.
Oh, they don't have to like it. They just need to bump the numbers.
Bump the numbers. Yeah. Do you want to call out any studios?
No.
Just in case.
No, but let's just say if I was to give bad reviews last month, you could probably correlate. No, that's not true. is
That's
it?
not true.
Is it?
One of them you loved.
Did I?
Yeah. Think about it. The second one.
Shh, no spoilers. I didn't love it.
But you
Good
gave
time,
it
yeah.
positive. More positive
Look,
than negative.
yeah. I don't know. How am I ending this?
Can you tell it's a Sunday?